What's up, everybody? I'm Michael Pittman.
I'm Amanda Pittman.
And we decided to do a video for you guys today. We've been receiving a lot of questions since we've been married. For the first couple of months of marriage, we didn't know if we were really ready to answer them. We wanted to kind of get our feet wet a little bit, kind of get settled in and, allow for some time to pass before we address them. But there are some questions now that we feel like we can help people out with, and they're actual questions from you guys, so we're just going to get started. First, how are you content while waiting for your wedding? I think for me, I realized that I was in such a special season while waiting for my wedding. You learn a lot through that engagement period on how to enjoy the moment, surround yourself with community, rely on community and dependency on God. Amanda, I feel like I should have it all together as I'm about to be a wife. What advice or encouragement would you give?
I would say none of us have it all together. Be very sensitive to what God is trying to teach you. Something that I've learned along the way and that I haven't completely mastered is try not to make the same mistake twice. If you say, I'm going to fix this, I care about you and I love you and I don't want to continue to do this, then stay true to your word. Don't. It's really important that you just trust God in the learning process because it's very, very beautiful and very special. It's not only the product that matters, that beautiful woman that you become with inward beauty and incredible character, but also how God got you there. Your testimony is so powerful. So it's just really important that you cherish the learning process and help other women who may not be as spiritually or relationally mature as you. Just try to make the best decisions for your future.
How did your families react when you got engaged, and what advice would you give to young couples? Our families were really excited. For some members of our family, they thought that we were too young or pretty young, and it kind of took a little while for them to get on board. But, in a very small amount of time, everybody was super excited, preparing for the wedding, helping us out with decorations. I think it's just important to make sure you're connecting with the other person's family if they're, if you guys are planning to make that next step soon.
That's really important. If someone's judging you from the outside in, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel judged. That's not even who I am. They think that I'm stuck up and everything, and it's because they don't know you, And parents may have their reservations about you being young because they still don't know your future spouse well enough. A first impression is very important. Michael made a great first impression, but that's still just never enough. You need to build on the relationship, and I would say that my dad loves Michael more than he loves me right now. They're like best friends or something. And that would have never happened if we were just off in our own little world and we're like, oh no, we're just going to go get married, Now we know that not everyone is in that situation where even though you're trying to pursue your parents and or your family and you're really trying to make that relationship work and mesh with the family and it's not working out. And I would just say pray about it, because your actions can do a lot, but they can't do what God can do, God can change the heart of man. In the meantime, if your family is destructive or holding you down, I would say just separate yourself, but love them from a distance.
How do you deal with your spouse's past mistakes that still affect the present? We were really transparent through our dating process on our past. I think that this question is really relating to sinful past, like before you were in a relationship with one another, or maybe it's like sex or drugs or something like that. For us, we just leave the past in the past. There are things that your spouse does that will affect your future even once you get married. It's just so important to forgive. Once you're married, you realize, look, I'm going to be with this person for the next, Lord willing, 80 to 100 years. Am I really going to get upset over this? Am I really going to get upset over that? It's important to pick your battles. Mm-hmm. It's important to pick your battles in marriage. Not everything deserves an argument or a conversation. Sex God's way. What's the purpose versus how do most people use it? How did we benefit by waiting until marriage?
I'll go first. So I've heard the argument that sex is just for procreation, it's just for making children, it's just for filling the earth, but I completely disagree with that. If you even look at the Song of Solomon, the amount of intimacy that the two people share together is absolutely sacred. Michael and I waited until marriage to have sex with each other, and I don't feel closer to anyone on this earth. It's wonderful for your spiritual walk as well. Everything improves when you get to have that. When you get to have that intimacy with someone, just like when you have intimacy with God and you experience His physical presence and you can feel it in your body, it just secures all of your faith in God and everything. It's the same thing with your relationship, and it's totally worth it. I'm so glad we didn't have sex before marriage. It's totally worth it, and yeah, wait, and then you can have all the sex you want.
It was the most difficult thing we ever did. It was so hard to wait and everything. But, just stay encouraged. Rely on accountability. People, you're going to have to just rely on Jesus, honestly, because there's only so much man can do. You're going to be praying a lot. But through that process, you will learn how to depend on God a lot, which will be important because once you're in marriage and you have that freedom, you still want to have conditioned yourself to depend on God, because as a husband or as a wife, that dependency on God is even more important because the enemy is constantly attacking godly marriages.
And I'll add this. I have a lot of faith in our commitment to each other.
True.
Because of our commitment to God before we were married. So that's so important.
True.
So important.
I have a question. In a YouTube video, your wife stated she was once bitter before she met you. Did that transfer over to you, and did you have to deal with the bitterness? If so, how long did it take her to loosen and open up and start loving you? And also, how did you do it? LOL. Amanda wasn't just bitter toward all men type thing, but there were definitely, as with any relationship, just some boundaries, and some you just have to learn how to trust the other person and know that they won't treat you like how someone did in the past, and that not everyone is the same. But also realizing that you can only do so much, and you just have to pray for the person. As Amanda mentioned earlier, there are things that only God can do. How long did it take her to loosen up and open up? I would say a couple of months. Maybe, yeah, I would say a couple of months, but I was very transparent with Amanda from the beginning of our relationship. I was just if we get into a relationship, I want it to be transparent. It will hurt at times it won't be fun, it won't be pleasant, but starting off with so much transparency early, that really helped accelerate the process of her trusting me more, because when I started opening up my heart to her and she started opening up her heart to me, we began to see one another in a more, not physically intimate, but emotionally intimate light.
And before I started dating Michael, the Lord had already been healing me from my past relationship. Right when Michael was speaking, he said she wasn't bitter towards all men, but there was a point where I was. There was a point where I had no faith in men at all. But by the grace of God, He worked on my heart because I let Him, I opened myself up to Him and I said, I surrender. I want my life to change. I want to live for You. I don't want to be burdened by my past anymore. So if you're a woman and you're dealing with your past, or if you're a man and you're dealing with someone who has hurt you in your past and your future decisions are shaped by that, I would just say, pray for God to mold your heart, because He can do it, and He does a dang good job at it.
We have a video called Michael and Amanda, Hookups, Breakups, and Checkups. Definitely check that one out, because we talk about past relationships and stuff in there a lot. Mm-hmm. And let's just say women aren't the only ones who can be bitter toward their past, but God heals all. Discuss your roles in marriage. How did you determine who brings home the bacon, your chores, etc.? During the summer, I was working a lot, and Amanda had a little bit more time on her hands, and she was spending more time at home. And so, in that season of our lives, it was more so me working, bringing home the bacon, according to the person who asked the question. And Amanda just kept up the house, and she did a phenomenal job at it. Now we've started school, and our schedules can get crazy at times, and I've seen it more as I know this person is busy. She didn't say that she needed help with this, or he didn't say he wanted this done, but I just want to lovingly outserve this individual and just help them out. We're a team first. We're a unit first, and I just want to make things as easy as I can on my wife, and she's expressed to me the same thing through her actions.
It's all about teamwork. It's all about teamwork.
How do we budget? How did we come up with that plan? What are your long-term goals as a couple?
Our long-term goals are to be able to give extravagantly and not be like, I don't have the means to give to this person and meet their needs, even though my heart is just doing flips for them, And we also want to be able, if we ever wanted to, just pick up and leave and go on a mission trip, And you need to have the funds to be able to do that. And it would be absolutely wonderful, Lord willing, if we were financially independent at a young age so that we can, continue to do what we feel like the Lord has called us to do without resources being an issue.
Yes, and recently we started a budget. We listened to a guy named Dave Ramsey. He's like a financial guru, Christian guy, super famous. His podcast is #1 on iTunes. I listen to him just about every day. Some of his financial advice and tips are very helpful. Also, we're starting this thing this week actually to where we're going to try to use more cash and use the envelope method so that every dollar has a purpose and every dollar is going somewhere specific. And so just getting the weekly income, turning it into cash, putting it in separate envelopes for gas and for this and for that, and then just seeing how that works. And so we'll keep you guys updated on how that goes.
I would say also that Michael and I, we don't really get a lot of nice things. We don't really go shopping. We really just take care of our needs and everything like that. And it also takes a lot of being like, hey, yeah, I know, I haven't gotten new shoes in over a year, It would really help me, and I haven't treated myself in a while, and it's just saying no. It has nothing to do with my eternal purpose, and I'm willing to take the short-term cost for the long-term benefit of Pittman Incorporated or whatever your family's going to be,
The Pittman, financial foundation. Amanda, can you speak on godly submission / respect for your husband? Michael, can you speak on loving your wife, laying down your life for her, and ways you implement that in daily life? Go ahead and kick it off.
So, at the beginning of our marriage, I would say for like the first month, I kept asking myself, why is submission so easy? And I was like, Michael, what does leading feel like to you? Do you feel like you're leading? Because this is like really easy. I feel like we just kind of got it, And you know what I realized is I just wasn't submitting. During conflict, I would often be like, I feel this way, so I'm merited, I'm merited to have these thoughts. I'm merited to react in this certain way. And a lot of the things that, maybe Michael and I talked about in our conflict resolution video, I started to fall back on. I started to fall back on keeping tabs on my tone when I was upset, And it takes a whole heck of a lot of self-control. But the thing is, I can't do it by my flesh because my flesh is the problem. And so it has gotten so incredibly better over these past 2 weeks. These past 2 weeks have just been golden. And I think It's because I took the responsibility on myself. You know, you can't always think that this other person needs to fix themselves. This other person is doing X, Y, Z. But more so, you know what? I need to submit. I really, really feel this way, and I feel like I should get my way. I feel like my feelings should be, you know, catered to. I feel like I should be pampered. You know, I'm tired. He should understand. You know, but it's not that way. If you want to be the wife of noble character, you're gonna take responsibility for being a wife, and you're going to have the type of self-control that is going to be the foundation to be a mother in the future.
And as far as me loving my wife, laying my life down for her, you know, I think it just comes down to realizing, like, you're married. You know, for me, it's, like, pretty interesting because here I am, you know, I'm 21 years old, you know, still young, you know, we're in college and everything, but there are just certain things, like, that aren't necessarily, like, sins or anything, but that you just have to be mindful of, you know, like kicking it with the homies at 3 in the morning, you know, like I have a wife at home, you know, like not ball and chain type of thing, but just more so consideration. It didn't even come by my own volition. It was something that Amanda was telling me about, and at the time I was just like, whatever, you know. But, you know, I knew she was right, and I knew it was God's will for a husband and wife to go to bed together, and to Amanda and I, we do a devotional at night, you know what I mean? And so to do that and to remain committed to things that are purposeful. Then, of course, lovingly serving your wife, like how I mentioned with the chores and everything. And what other ways do I lay down my life?
I recently got in a tiny fender bender.
Yes. So we just got in the car, and Amanda got into a
tiny fender bender.
A tiny fender bender, and I was pretty upset. But learning how to control your anger, and control your tongue, and to control a lot of things. There's nothing wrong with taking a moment in time to compose yourself and making sure that whenever you speak, you're going to be speaking things that are going to be beneficial, and to express to the other person how you feel in a constructive way.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention that situation where I, you know, got in a small fender bender and Michael was upset. It gave me an opportunity to submit as well, because Michael was like, you know, I was saving up for your birthday and now we have to pay for this, you know, and I had to just be like, you know, that's my responsibility, you know, that's what I have to do, you know, we have to save up, we have to work towards getting this fixed. I don't have to have an extravagant birthday, and that's okay, because we have our priorities straight, and that took submission from my end.
And her birthday's in 2 days, so everybody wish her a happy birthday. Have you figured out a good birth control that you would recommend? I'm going to let you have that.
So my answer is no.
We're not pregnant. But.
Okay, well, I would say this. You can use whatever method you want, but hormones will always change your body. I would recommend you read my blog, Emotion, A Woman's Strength. It talks about my experiences with the NuvaRing, which was, it completely tore up my body hormonally, and I wouldn't recommend it if you're sensitive to drugs or anything like that. I wouldn't recommend it.
Absolutely terrible.
It did not feel like God's will.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was absolutely terrible.
And I would say, when it comes to the pill, it still changes your body, you know. It still messes with your period. It still messes with the way that you feel, you know, causes weight gain. All of those things I've experienced, and I would just say none of them are really great. I'm currently asking the Holy Spirit what He wants me to do with birth control, which I would just recommend to you if you're a new wife, or if you're planning on getting married soon. Really ask the Holy Spirit what He wants of you. I have friends who just use condoms. I have friends who use herbal teas. And I have friends who don't use any birth control at all, and they're like, we're using the faith method, And my mother prayed for 5 years that she not have children until she gets a house, and my parents were not on any contraceptives, and right when my parents got a house, my mom got pregnant, and God was faithful with that. And so if the Lord led us to not do birth control, I would trust Him in that, because children are a blessing, and who's to say that He would give us children, But I would just say, weigh your options, ask around, but know that anything you do hormonally will change your body. So.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's time to land this plane. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for sticking with us. And if you have any more questions, just shoot me an email, michaelpittman20@yahoo.com. Comment on an Instagram photo. That's where we got these. I think that's just about it. You got anything else, babe?
Nope, that's all.
We love you guys. Talk to you soon.